This is now the problem. The drone, as I'm pulling back on the sticks, is doing nothing. It's going 1 kilometer an hour and it's now just drifting off to the sea. There is nothing I can do at the moment on this course unless it's just going to drift off, never to be seen again. When you turn on your DJI Mini 2, you'll see firmware available for the DJI Mini 2. So what does this bring? Well, this is version 1.4.0000. For the benefit of this video, I'll just call it 1.4. Now this, in typical DJI fashion, doesn't really tell you a lot. So let's get this downloaded, but it says it optimized flight safety. So once again, we are scratching our heads about what that actually means. So I always like firmware updates because this is where you're going to get new features. We're going to get new FPS, we're going to be able to go in 4K 60. Any actual features on the drone itself, any improvements, is where you get a firmware update. An app update overall increases the performance of the app. So are we going to get anything new on this firmware update? So I've got that installed now on the DJI Mini 2. It did take a bit longer than normal. It was only a really small file, but that's on there now. But today it is super windy, which I'll talk about in a second. I am using an ND filter. I'm using the Freewell ND32 for today. It is a super harsh light in the middle of the day, but look at this wind, 48 miles per hour, gusts at 75 meters high. So not good at all. But let's talk about this, what we actually get on this firmware. Firstly, I'm just going to go over the actual settings, but you want to make sure, and I say this every time, it's super crucial. Let's go into settings, and the 3 highlighted areas here, these are your altitude, your distance, and your return to home altitude. They will probably reset after a firmware update. Make sure that they are correct. There's no point getting the drone in the air and then losing it because one of these was incorrect. So now's your chance just to go and double check that before you even move on. And then the next point is advanced safety settings here. Return to home should be your default option. Descend I've never used in my life, and hover I have used quite a few times, but return to home is the one I like to have it set to. Under control, this will also be reset. So if you have a nice front LED colour or where it actually flashes, that's probably reset. Go and change that if you wish. Everything else on here should be the same. So the gimbal mode should be in follow mode. I've got the upwards gimbal rotation. I have that turned on. And then gimbal calibration, we will need that today. I'll get to that point in a minute. That's how you change that. Your phone charging for iOS, I have that switched on or off depending on how hot it is outside. And then the actual customization options, nothing new there at all. But if you like to customize these, you can do. They will also be reset most probably. Grid lines, I have the 2 grid lines turned on all the time. And then the white balance, I have that set mainly to manual. I have found recently on recent updates, there is a bizarre yellow tint when it's set to auto. So 5600 kelvins in manual tends to have the nicest looking image. Moving on to the main screen, the map, the compass at the bottom left hand corner is super snappy. All the dials are super working well as well. But what do we actually get new? What's new on here? Well, nothing really. I mean, and we're not going to, are we? With the impending release and rumours of the DJI Mini 3 coming, they are not going to give new FPS. So we're still stuck at 2.7K 60, 4K 30, 1080p 60. So that's not going to be increased. And I can't see at all it being increased in the future either. They're just optimizing this drone, so it's brilliant. It's a fantastic drone, but they're not going to give any extra features, and they haven't done today. What they have done is they've just overall improved the safety, which I know isn't anything exciting, but along with this and the DJI Fly app, this is probably the most smoothest and best performing app we've had in a long time. Right, let's look at this. So going forward, this may be a lesson to some of you as well, but this wind here, so the wind direction is the direction there if you look on the right hand side. So the wind is actually going in the direction of the port to where these boats are, and that's the direction I'm going to be going in soon. So I need to be super careful here because one, I do not advise flying in winds like this at all. I'm only doing this because one, I've had some experience in this already, and two, as a learning curve for you. But 48 miles per hour winds, you will probably lose your drone, especially the DJI Mini 2. Nevertheless, let's get this drone in the air and see how it performs, because I do like to test that these firmware and app updates are stable for you guys, so you can go and download them and be confident that you're not going to have any major problems. So the only problem I'm having today is this wind. Look, I'm trying to increase that gimbal and the wind is pushing down that much. I can't even increase the gimbal position. So look at that attitude indicator there in the bottom left hand corner. This is getting battered. We've also got a complete army of seagulls there waiting to just destroy this DJI Mini 2, so that's another hazard and challenge from itself there. But let's now head over to those boats. Remember, this is in the position where the wind is, so we've now got the wind behind us helping us get to them, which is going to be a huge problem coming back. But even in these really strong winds now, the image and everything, the gimbal looks really nice, doesn't it? It's a really good picture still. This is remarkable that we can actually get footage like this in crazy winds like today. So whilst we're in this position now, you can see, just look at that latitude indicator again at the left hand corner. This drone is not happy. So first tip, get it in sports mode and keep it in sports mode a lot. Look at this as I turn around now with that wind blowing the drone as the drone's on its side. It's completely messed up the gimbal, and just look at that bottom left hand corner. It's getting actually blown away. Whilst I'm hovering now, it's starting to drift and will be blown away if I don't do something about it. So sports mode will give you the best chance of keeping that drone. Just a subtle plug here. This is what it's like normal out of the drone, and this is with the LA Sunset LUTs. So if you've not picked up the LUTs already, these transform your DJI Mini 2 footage. So I'll show you at the end of the video how you can get a discount as well. But look at the gimbal now getting blown about as well. This drone is getting just drifting and blown all over the place. But as we increase the altitude, what's remarkable is that look how stable this is. You'd be forgiven to think we were in crazy winds on a Mini 2. What's not good though, I noticed in photos, this is a photo here, this is JPEG, but I'm now tapping frantically on the screen to try and do a tap to focus, which you no longer seem to be able to do. You can do it on auto, you seem to have the option, but I'm frantically tapping and nothing is happening. So please let me know on Android or iOS if you have lost the option of tap to focus, especially in photos. I use that a lot, pretty much every photo. So that is really disappointing. You can do it in auto, but why not in pro? What's gone on there? Second tip for you is keep an eye on that battery life. We're on nearly 40% battery. I've not been flying long, about 6 minutes. So I'm going to decrease the altitude to 60 meters because I am aware I've got to get back home as well. So as we decrease that altitude, I'm going to just go and increase my return to home altitude because I know I've got those boats to get over as well on the way back. But look at that, this does look great. It's incredible, isn't it? This Mini 2, you can't knock it. It's not brilliant in the wind at all, but this is now the problem. The drone, as I'm pulling back on the sticks, is doing nothing. It's going 1 kilometer an hour and it's now just drifting off to the sea. There is nothing I can do at the moment on this course unless it's just going to drift off, never to be seen again. So you've got to do some quick remote actions, and the first thing is don't panic. The second thing is if you're in this situation like this, spin that drone around as well. And then what you need to do is you need to accept that the position that you were going on, that flight path then, will not work. So change it. Change the angle that you're going to come back. So you can see it now drifting off to the left-hand side. But I'm just going to change it now. I don't want to go straight on because of all them seagulls. They will probably kill the drone. So I'm just going to go at a different position and then go forward whilst decreasing altitude rapid. I'm now down to 27 meters off the ground. The lower to the ground, the more chance you've got. As you can see in this situation, the drone has now been recovered. Still getting blown about a lot. Look at that attitude indicator, but look, we've got it back. That's the main thing. The battery you need to be aware of. It will deplete faster than you've ever seen in strong winds. In sports mode, we're down to 17%. So another big tip there is keep a huge eye on that battery in strong winds. If you're going to fly in strong winds, I don't advise it, but those are some tips of how to get that drone back. Don't just let it sail off into the distance. So the drone has come back to me. The fly app is good. The firmware update is fantastic. To celebrate the drone coming back, just enter discount code WIND for my DJI Mini 2 LUTs in the description and you'll get 40% off for the next week. Have a great day and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.